In today's video, I'm going to share with you how to look and train like James Bond. My name is James Rees and welcome to The Brief, a weekly email and video series that helps people over 30 become a better everyday athlete. Now, I'm super excited about this episode because we're going to talk about how to look and actually train like Daniel Craig and the current James Bond. And I'm fresh out of watching the movie, not just once, but twice this week. Yes, I'm a big James Bond fan. Now, before we dive in, a bit of a funny story, and the reason why I'm wearing this baseball cap today. No, I'm not sponsored by Arc'teryx. However, Arc'teryx, if you'd like to sponsor me, feel free to do so anytime that you want. No, yesterday, I went for a haircut, in fact, and note to self, never go to a new barber's when all the other barbers that you normally go to are actually closed, because you end up with a haircut that looks a bit like this. And I gotta go to my current barber's to get my haircut redone. There are a few characters that have stood the test of time as well as James Bond. In fact, I think it's the longest running film franchise of all time. But why is it? Why do we still love James Bond just as much as we used to do back in the day when Sean Connery and Roger Moore were James Bond fans? Well, I think it comes down to one key word and one key phrase. He's just totally badass, isn't he? He's the type of guy that every guy over 30 wants to be, and the type of guy that every wife wants their husband to be. It's plain and simple as that. There's just something great about him. Now, I've always been a big Bond fan, growing up watching it as a kid on TV with my grandpa every Sunday afternoon, playing the video game of GoldenEye as well in the heyday of the 90s, good old Nintendo 64. But I've always been a fan, so I'm a big fan of the latest movie, and I think it's a great swan song that we all know it is for Daniel Craig. Like all Bond actors, sadly they come and go. However, I truly believe that every Bond actor who's played the character has brought something unique and timeless to that role. Now, we could have hours and endless debate about who the best Bond actor was. However, for me, it was Daniel Craig. He's built, he's stacked, he's athletic, and you just don't fancy your chances. And that's me coming as someone who's a Krav Maga instructor, as well, a former Krav Maga instructor too. Now, cast your mind back to 2006 and that scene of Daniel Craig when he emerged from the ocean in those tight blue trunks. There was this body-confident hero, this rugged, ripped figure emerging from the water that had men over 30 everywhere wishing they had that type of physique. Now, it probably inspired a few guys who shouldn't be wearing budgie smugglers to buy some budgie smugglers too and try and emulate that physique of Daniel Craig. But let's talk more in depth how you, right now, can maybe achieve the same physique that Daniel Craig did for that film and all his subsequent films. Firstly, I want to say a big hats off to Simon Waterston, Daniel Craig's trainer, and Daniel Craig himself for putting in the hard work to get that physique. So really, if you want to find out how to train up Daniel Craig, you want to go and find Simon Waterston and actually ask him how he trained him himself, because only he will actually know, or Daniel Craig himself. So I'm just going to be hypothesizing here throughout the rest of this video. So let's start with how Daniel Craig as James Bond looks. Well, number one, he's absolutely ripped. Number two, he exuberates great health, not just good health, great health. Now, before I explain, you're coming with me because I gotta go en route to the barbers to get my hair sorted, so bear with me before I dive in. Now, this is always a dilemma, which Vivos to wear. So let's start with nutrition. Clearly, Daniel Craig has taken good care of his body by taking care of what he eats and how he nourishes it through vitamins and minerals and good quality foods. That's the only way you're going to achieve sub 10% body fat and pack on all the muscle and look that healthy on screen. Now, before I start World War III and probably need to employ the services of James Bond to look after me, here's the fact: you're gonna have to diet because most guys over 30 need to lose body fat to look that ripped. What diet, I hear you, eh? Every diet works. It makes no difference. It comes down to the magic formula of calories in, calories out. There, I've said it. I've gone into the world of nutrition. I'm putting a hate mail and everything else to go with it. But it comes down to diet, what you eat. Just choose a diet and go from there. Just maintain it. Whatever diet it is, I don't mind. Just find one that involves making sure you know how many calories come into your body and how many are going out, because that's the magic formula. Now, you could use calorie counting techniques like using MyFitnessPal or something like that, or use mindful eating. Whichever way you do it, you've got to focus on that calories in, calories out portion to make sure you control what's going into your body, to make sure you are losing body fat. You may want to stop drinking those few beers after work and maybe switch for a few martinis or maybe some vodkas there, because it's got less calories in it. And maybe swap the takeaway foods and those foods on the go to something more nourishing, more wholesome type foods that you can actually cook yourself. That's a great starting point to help you reduce your calories to get that diet in plan. Now, in terms of vitamins and minerals, well, that depends. You can get it from the food, but if you're not getting it from the food, you need to take some sort of supplements to go with it. What that is, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to recommend them here on YouTube right now. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is cardio. Yes, good old-fashioned cardiovascular training, which is probably going to be unpopular with most people out there. You see, unlike the role of a superhero who's got to pack on loads of lean muscle, James Bond is much more nuanced, he's much more slight. A good example is to think about Jason Statham or The Rock in Fast and Furious is those type of differences. He's fast, he's nimble, he's light, he's slight, he's got to dive into little secret places and nip out without being seen, so he's running a lot of the time. Now, to be able to do all of this, he needs to have a serious cardiovascular engine, and I'm afraid a couple of HIIT workouts here and there ain't gonna cut it. But he's gonna have done long form cardio and put a lot of work into doing the long form version of cardio before earning the right to actually doing the shorter, sharper sprints that he needs to be more powerful. That's a big thing that most people don't understand. The long form cardio will aid your short form cardio, hill sprints, repeats, sled pushes, all these things, because you can recover faster. And he does those things. He'll do the long form just as much as you'll start practicing and training for the short form as well. So breaking it down even further, he needs a strong aerobic capacity, so it allows him to recover faster, and he needs good anaerobic capacity to do those sprints over and over again. Now, one of the key things here I'd like to emphasize, he doesn't just do these runs and sprints. He runs after people, jumps on top of them, wrestles them to the ground, fights, shoots, does all these crazy things. So he still needs the mental clarity to execute escape plans as well. So you're not going to do that if you have zero cardiovascular capacity. You need to recover faster, to think clearly and move forward. So cardio is a really important aspect of the James Bond physique. Now, the third thing I want to talk about is strength training, because James Bond is ripped. He's not just ripped, he's got muscle. So I dove into all the articles and research I could find about Simon Waterston and how he trained Daniel Craig. And a lot of it was to do with body weight and free weight exercises. He used a lot of supersets with upper body and lower body pairings, but also upper body and lower body pairings with abdominal work. And there's no doubt about it, James Bond has a strong core. He's athletic, he needs a strong core. And the other thing on the interviews that Simon Waterston talks about is Daniel Craig's training age. He's had over 15 years of experience working with him. And even for this film, In No Time to Die, it took him over a year to train him. And that's because of his age. It took him longer to get him to where he wants to get to. Now, just bear that in mind as well. 15 years just with that personal trainer alone, let alone all the years before that Daniel Craig was athletic. So if you're thinking Daniel Craig is explosive, he's dynamic, and you have to train that way, well, you do at some point when you're experienced enough and your body can stand up to that type of training. So I'm going to assume you're new to training and you haven't got 15 years experience like Daniel Craig. So a workout could look like something like this. You start with some trap bar deadlifts. Trap bar because it's safer than conventional deadlifts. You do 3 sets of 6 to 8 or 6 to 12 reps, whatever it is you choose. Now after that, maybe go to some full body exercise like a Turkish get up, do 3 sets of that, 1-1 pairings, rest 2 minutes in between, and then you follow up with a couple of supersets. Upper body could be single arm dumbbell bench press, do 6 to 8 reps of that, immediately into like some push-ups to maximum failure, or even 12 reps on that, or superset again with some kind of pulling movements like pull-ups with some renegade rows or something like that. Because remember, James Bond is pushing and pulling a lot in his exercises, and you need to be dynamic and explosive, but safe at the same time for your training age. Now the list is endless here on type of workout pairings. I can't list 1,000,001 exercises that Daniel Craig does because I simply don't know. I need to ask his trainer for that. However, the point is keep it simple, keep it straightforward. straightforward. Use full body movements, body weight and free weights, upper and lower body splits and supersets, and see how you go from there. And keep the rep ranges higher than you would do most. Remember, you want to be dynamic and explosive and prepare your body for those movements later on. And the final thing I want to talk about is mobility and flexibility. James Bond can actually touch his toes. Now think about that for a second. How many people do you know who actually physically can't even do that? Mobility and flexibility is the gateway to old age and aging gracefully, in my opinion. In fact, the older you get, the more you need to do it. Now picture this. If James Bond isn't mobile or flexible, how is he going to chase after the bad guys and actually catch him? I can see it now. He tries to sprint off, run after the bad guy. Oh, no. Pulled hammy, can't go after him, I'll catch you next time, mate. It's not gonna happen. So mobility and flexibility is the final piece of the puzzle if you want to look and be like James Bond, and specifically if you want to train like him. So there are two very simple tests I'd like you to try out. The first is, can you touch your toes? It's a simple yes or no answer. And the second is, can you sit in a deep squat position, heels down like I am right now, for at least 5 minutes without any pain? Now, if the answer is no to any of those questions, it means you need more mobility and flexibility in your life, and it's more likely to be with your ankles, hamstrings, hip flexors, and thoracic spine. So just bear that in mind. Now, reports do say that before each day he went on set, he was spending 30 to 40 minutes of mobility and flexibility work, including activation work, to help him get through his day. So stretching and mobility is good enough for James Bond. It's gonna be good enough for you. Anyway, that's enough for me rambling on for one day. I gotta get my hair sorted and get this mess of a haircut sorted out now. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts on how to train and be like James Bond. Nutrition, cardio, strength, mobility and flexibility is gonna take time, it's gonna take effort and sheer blooded mindedness, just like Daniel Craig. And if you're in your 30s and 40s and 50s now and want to do that, just remember, it's going to take longer than you think. If it took Daniel Craig with 15 years experience to do it in 1 year, just try doubling that and more. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below. If you enjoy what you listen to, subscribe and like this video. And yeah, until next time.